So 20 years ago, the idea of somebody living out their life on television, on screens, in front of everybody in the whole world would seem like a bit of an out there concept. Something that'd be a bit strange. Now, it's 2018, we've got reality shows, we've got Big Brother, we've got The Only Way is Essex and Made in... It's even saying the name of these shows makes me feel a little bit sick inside. We've got people vlogging on YouTube, which I guess is kind of what I'm doing, but I'm talking about films. I'm not showing you what I had for breakfast this morning. Bowl of Cocoa Pops was very nice. The point is that the Truman Show now seems like a bit of a warning about what could happen with the world and what is starting to happen with the world, and it's a bit depressing, really, isn't it? We've got there. We are the Truman Show.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring, amongst others, Jim Carrey, Laura Linney, Noah Emmerich, Natasha McElhone and Ed Harris. Directed by Peter Weir off of a script by Andrew Niccol. This is my review for the now 20 years old The Truman Show.
Comments are still headed.
What else is on?
Yeah, let's do what else is.
Coming to you now from the largest studio ever constructed, it's The Truman Show!
Yeah!
Good morning!
Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
What if?
No scripts, no cue cards.
Morning, Spencer. How's it going?
What if you were watched every moment of your life?
How many cameras you got there in that town?
5,000.
I believe Truman is the first child to have been legally adopted by a corporation.
That's correct.
Brilliant.
What if everyone you knew was pretending?
Hi, honey. Look what I got at the checkout. Dishwasher safe.
That's amazing.
What if your world was make-believe?
Cue the sun. While the world he inhabits is counterfeit,
I'm not allowed to talk to you.
That's how I look. Not your type.
there's nothing fake about Truman himself.
What if you didn't know it? Until now.
A lot of strange things have been happening.
Stand by ring cam.
Is he looking at us?
Does he think he knows?
I think I'm mixed up in something. Something big.
We accept the reality with which we're presented.
Everybody's pretending, Truman. Get out of here. Come and find me. Truman?
Anything happen?
No.
You may find yourself in another part of the world.
Feels like the whole world revolves around me. Everybody seems to be in on it. I'm going away for a while.
You may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, how did I get here?
I'm not in on it, Truman, because the last thing that I would ever do is lie to you.
Fade up music. That's our hero shot.
He's gone.
Okay? Yes!
Want to do it again?
No!
Find him.
Truman, where are you going?
You can do it.
How do we stop him?
Give me some lightning.
Is that the best you can do?
Cut transmission!
I like your pen. I was wondering that myself.
Jim Carrey. The Truman Show. Watch what happens.
The Truman Show got to number 1 at the US box office 20 years ago. It got there on June the 7th and it remained there for 2 weeks. And it's the story of a man named Truman, who, unbeknownst to him, is actually living out his entire life since birth on a reality TV show that's watched everywhere in the world and is the most viewed program ever. He starts to realise over the course of the movie that things aren't quite what they seem to be, and he begins to question himself, to question where he is, and to question what's going on in his life, and starts to take actions to try and rebel against it. As I said in the intro, it's a different experience watching The Truman Show now than it was when it first came out. Now reality TV is everywhere. So many people now are known just for what they do in their personal life. The novelty has, for me at least, long since worn off, but considering that Love Island just got record ratings, makes me give up a little bit on life. The point is that reality TV now isn't quite the novelty. It's not the dream that Truman Show made it out to be. It's not something that's coming in the future. It's something we're very much in, albeit not to the same extreme as The Truman Show. I don't know necessarily you could make this movie now. Like, it wouldn't be such an out there concept. It wouldn't be quite so fascinating because wherever you go, you're going to see it. If you go onto YouTube, you'll find vloggers. If you turn on the TV, chances are you're going to stumble across something, or at least 30-somethings on different channels, all about reality television and people just going about their everyday lives. As I say, it's not a novelty anymore. It's becoming a little bit of a chore. But it's got to remember that The Truman Show was probably not the first to kind of hint at this or to do a story about it, but it does it in a very unique way by having the character of Truman not knowing that he's on a reality TV show. And that's the difference. That's where I think this movie works. He's not somebody who's desperate for fame. He's not trying to grab all of the attention from everybody in the world. He's just trying to live a normal everyday life, and he has absolutely no idea that he's at the centre of something so massive. When it comes to Jim Carrey, I'm not a huge Jim Carrey fan. All of my friends when I was growing up loved Ace Ventura. They love both of those movies and they do impressions of them all the time, but it used to just annoy me a little bit. I find his acting to be overacting quite a lot. He's just over the top comedic ways just don't really work for me. I like Jim Carrey more when he's less doing what he did in Batman Forever, that film, and more when he's doing something like this, something where he can lean on the comedy, he can do his rubber face thing that he does every now and then, but he balances it out with a really nice dramatic performance. My favourite performance of him is still Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That's an incredible film, but this comes very, very close. I think Jim Carrey's brilliant here. The character of Truman he's a nice guy, like he's an earnest guy. There's nothing over the top about him. He literally is just a guy who's going about his business. He's dealt with some trauma in his past when his dad died, or was scripted to have died and left the show. And yeah, he's building a happy life for himself. He's got himself married, he's going to be looking to have kids at some point. And yeah, I like the character of Truman. And that's the important thing, I think, in this film, is that Truman himself is somebody you can relate to, you can root for. And Jim Carrey's performance absolutely makes it so that Truman is that character. And it's interesting too how they use the other characters in this. Or the people that sort of Laura Linney plays his, I think it's Laura Linney who plays his wife in this movie, or his wife, who's an actress. She's an actress scripted in to play this character, and same with Noah Emmerich as well, who's playing his best friend. These are people that are around Truman all the time, that are very much putting on a charade. Like, they know they're in a TV show, they're doing it for the money, and there's one thing I'd say about this film is that I would like to have seen more of what it's like for them. Obviously, this movie is called The Truman Show, so it's primarily focused on Truman, but I just found myself wondering, like, what these guys do, how is it for them, particularly with Laura Linney's character, because she plays his wife, so she has to be there all the time. Like, she's probably getting paid a lot of money, I think, for this, but this would be her life. She can't just clock out at 5 o'clock and go home. She's continually in this, and I would like to have seen more about how that had an effect on the people that are playing the characters so integral to Truman and what's happening with him. And at the same time, that does stretch the credibility of the film a little bit. I mean, obviously, in our world, you couldn't do something like this. People would be instantly slamming that TV show and putting it down if you tried to trick somebody into living a false life. But it's more, how does it work for the people such as the one who plays his wife? How does she live? How does she cope? It does stretch credibility just a little bit. It doesn't affect the enjoyment of the film overly much, but these are just sort of questions that I had going around in my head while I was watching it. Aside from Carrey, another standout is Ed Harris, who is always brilliant. I can always watch Ed Harris, and he is the creator here. He's the guy who set all this up, who put this all into motion, as Christoph, his name is. And it's such a great performance. He's not in it a huge amount. Like, a lot of the film goes by and we only see snippets of him. But towards the end, he does a news interview, for example, that you really start to see the inner workings of this character and how invested he is. Particularly when it all starts to go wrong for him and Truman's making his escape. Like, he sort of crumbles, he lashes out, he's willing to put him through hell in order to try and keep his baby in one piece. And that's the fascinating thing for me about this character, is yeah, it's a TV show, but he looks at Truman like he's almost his subject, like he's almost his child himself. Like, he's trying to convince him that he's doing the right thing for him, that he's created a life that's a good life. And he believes that 100%, to the point where he is willing to risk Truman dying in order to keep him in this world that he's made. The flow of The Truman Show is brilliant as well. This movie goes along at a really great pace. It never feels like it lulls. It's always moving towards something. And watching Truman as he starts to work out that things aren't right here, and he takes drastic steps in order to try and escape it, and then to see what they do to try and keep him there as well, it's fascinating. Like, starting the bushfires, having the nuclear plant sort of overloading, probably the wrong word for it. Just all these little tricks they have up their sleeve to try and convince him to stay, including the really dark one of having his father die at sea, which makes him afraid of water, which then means that he can't ever leave. He can't leave where they are because of that. He can't go across a bridge that has water underneath it because he's so terrified of it. It's a clever way of convincing why Truman has never once ventured out of this idyllic home that he lives in. And it all ends amazingly as well. I did say that I would like to have seen more from the supporting characters here and what they got up to, and there is still a part of me that, as this film ends, like, I want to see what happens when he walks through this door, when he first sees the outside world. I want to see some of that. But I do think it ended at the right time. Like, it ends not knowing what happens to him next. He just walks away from this set. Now, I love, by the way, the boat crashing into the sets. It was amazing. That whole sequence at sea was fantastic. But yeah, it cuts out as he walks through the door. You never see what happens next. And while I would like to have seen it, I do think it's the perfect way to close this out. It's the end of the Truman Show, as it were, which is also the end of the movie. Everything gets shut down and that's all we see. Yeah, I am glad, I think, that they never tried to follow this up with a sequel. But overall, the Truman Show is a fantastic film. It's one of the best ones I think I've watched so far on Movies at 20. It's a film that I knew I enjoyed. I hadn't watched it for such a long time, but watching it again, it very much holds up. The theme itself may seem a little bit dated in today's age, but the actual movie, the experience of watching it, it's as fresh as it ever was. I don't think it's perfect. As I say, the credibility of these actors being able to give up their entire life to be part of this is something I don't quite buy 100%, but it's excusable. It's something I can put away. In fact, the only thing I say I didn't like about this film is just the guy in a bathtub.
You can do it! Hold on!
I do love that they show the people watching this, that they show the people on outside of watching the show, the viewers. It gives us insights into them, the things they're invested in about it. But this guy just annoyed me. Everybody else was fine. Everybody else looked like they were believable people watching it. But this guy was so over the top. He wound me up a little bit. He's one of the main things I don't like about it, and luckily he's only a very, very small part. Something I do want to mention as well is that I really like the way this film's shot. I mean, it looks a gorgeous film throughout, but it's the shots I'm talking about where you can see the lens of the camera, where it gives you the impression that you're watching what the audience are seeing rather than watching the movie. And I like that. It's a nice little touch. I'm going to give The Truman Show a 9 out of 10. But yes, The Truman Show remains a very good film. If you've never seen it, please go watch it. I can almost guarantee that you'll find something to like about it. It's a brilliant film. It's one of Jim Carrey's better performances, and yeah, highly recommended movie even 20 years later. Have you seen The Truman Show? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments. Do you like reality TV these days? If you do, explain to me how. I can't. Like, I always think of Big Brother. Do you remember when Big Brother first started and it was like this?
There's a number of people sitting around this table, right, who have come to me over the weekend and basically said that you have showed them a piece of paper with various names on it, i.e. my name on a number of occasions. I have witnessed you giving me a piece of paper with various people's names on.
And over the years, it's deteriorated into this.
She's horrible.
Please tell me how
You're a chicken-livered bunch.
Kim should leave the bedroom.
You can't stand up for
Should
yourself.
settle down.
You should be your own individual, have your own mind.
Very much my own. I'm not getting involved. Please tell me how she's horrible.
And I will not take a lecture of how I've got to behave in this house.
Kim.
No.
You're over.
Shut up.
So over dramatic.
Shut up. Don't you bother.
It's just the sort of TV that I can't get behind. But yeah, if you're a fan about it, tell me what you like about it. Tell me why you enjoy reality TV of this kind. Because yeah, I don't. I'm interested, genuinely fascinated. Movies at 20, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and it's the X-Files, I believe, up. The first X-Files movie, which is weird because I'm watching the X-Files at the moment, and I stopped at the end of season 5. I was about to watch the film and then saw it was due to come up on this one soon. So that was weird timing. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that. I'll have reviews up soon for Hereditary. Definitely, I think will be this week, maybe next week I'll have Hereditary up, and Ocean's 8 as well will be on its way. Thank you very much for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at JoePJulians. And until then, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I couldn't not end the video like that. Had to be done.